From the belfry of his church, Mr. Mole, the vicar, looked at the falling snow and said, "My word, it's getting thicker. I'll tug the bell rope once or twice and get them all a-ringing, just to let the church mice know it's time for carol singing."
Captain Cat and the Carol Singers, a mouse musical with Bernard Cribbins and the St. Winifred School Choir. Based on the book by Jeremy Lloyd, with music by Goff Richards.
Having got the bells to ring, he dusted off the pews, polished up the organ, and had a little snooze. Then from the door he heard a knock, and then he heard a bang. Then someone kicked it very hard, and then the doorbell rang. And so, against the icy wind, he pushed the big church door, and just before his glasses froze, this is what he saw. A cat, whose age was clearly great, with eyes of china blue, held out a rather chilly paw and said, "How do you do? Night was falling, I was cold, I had no place to stay. Then through the trees I saw your light and headed on this way. My tail is frozen to the bone, I swear it's solid ice. A nice warm fire would thaw me out, but a candle would suffice." Come in, said Vicar Mole. "Come in and shut the door. I've never known a Christmas night as cold as this before." "Is it Christmas?" said the cat. "My word, that's news to me. By the way, I'm Captain Cat. I've spent my life at sea." My job was catching mice, of course, that roamed around the ship, until old age slowed me down and they gave me the slip. So I was cast ashore this time. They sailed with the tide. I waved them off till out of sight, and then sat down and cried. And then I tramped the countryside in an endless search for sanctuary. And by the way, may I come in the church? Said Vicar Mole. "You have been bad, for mice are all my friends. Eating them is against the rules. You'll have to make amends." "No more mice," said Captain Cat. "I promise I won't fail, but please, dear Vicar, kindly get a candle for my tail." And so, 2 candles later, and puddles on the floor, Captain Cat sighed with delight and felt his tail thaw. Staring hard at Vicar Mole with eyes of china blue, he said, "Since you've been kind to me, then I'll be kind to you. I thought you'd make a tasty snack, but haven't got the heart. And so I leave you here in peace and silently depart." "You have reformed," cried Vicar Mole. "I'm glad you've seen the light. But now I must attend my flock. Tonight is practice night. The carol singers all rehearse, and before they leave, I have to choose the best of them to sing on Christmas Eve. I play the organ and conduct and give them all advice. No sound can make the soul rejoice like that of 40 mice." Said Captain Cat, "Did I hear right, that 40 was the figure?" And his eyes of china blue got noticeably bigger. "Dear me, yes," said Vicar Mole, and nearly bit his tongue. "Some of them are frightfully old, and some are very young, and none of them is very fat, for winter food is short." "I've noticed that," said Captain Cat. "And I just had a thought. Why don't I stay and give a hand, like hanging up their coats, and take the ones that sing off-key aside and give them notes?" "If you insist," said Vicar Mole, "but promise to be good." "I will indeed," said Captain Cat, "because I said I would." Then upon the wooden door they heard some tiny knocking, and then a voice cried,
"Open up! The weather out here's shocking!"
So Captain Cat helped Vicar Mole to open up the door, and as the mice all scampered in, he counted 44. Harvest mice and church mice and mice from local houses, the men all dressed in Sunday best with hats and gloves and trousers. The lady mice were smart as well, in bonnets made of flowers, and homemade little dresses that must have taken hours. Some were very old and bent, some short, tall, thin, or fat. And as the door shut with a bang, a small one shouted, "Cat!" They scampered wildly round the church, and some knelt down to pray, till Mole the vicar raised his hands and said, "Don't run away, for Captain Cat is quite reformed and kindly helping me." Said Captain Cat, "The little ones can sit upon my knee." There were gasps of, "Oh my word," and crumbs, and well I never, and shall we stay or shall we go, and
What about the weather?
as they looked at Captain Cat, uncertain what to do, he fixed them with his bright blue eyes of smiling china blue. He said, "Dear friends, be not afraid, for I am old and frail. I'll help you with your carols by conducting with my tale. There's not a carol I don't know, for in a stormy sea the sailors sang them all the time and taught them all to me." "I'm glad to hear," said Vicar Mole, "that you're so well informed, for the carol Silent Night is now to be performed." "Ah, Silent Night," said Captain Cat. "Well, when still but a kitten, I heard the strangest story told of how that tune was written. Apparently some mice, it seems, found shelter from the cold in an organ in a church. Well, that's what I was told. And as it was in winter time, and being hungry fellows, they nibbled at the organ and made holes in the bellows. Then a man sat down to play and pressed a note or two. But to his surprise he heard a tune completely new. So if the mice had not been there and had a little bite, he wouldn't have composed a song which he called Silent Night." "That's very true," said Vicar Mole, "and it clearly shows us that God works in mysterious ways when mice become composers." And seated at the organ and pointing with his nose, said, "Silent Night by mice and men, and this is how it goes." That was very good, said Mole. So hard to tell who's best. You all sang very well indeed. I'm really most impressed. I agree, said Captain Cat. Their voices sounded fine. Oh dear, said Vicar Mole. There's only 39. I'll count again in case I'm wrong. Don't tell me you've been naughty. Oh dear, it's still just 39, and there were over 40. Don't look at me, said Captain Cat. I haven't laid a finger on any one of our dear friends, each one a splendid singer. I must say that the country mice have tones extremely clear. Perhaps that little fat one there could stand more over here.
Do you mean me?
The fat one squeaked.
Does that mean I'll be chose?
You may well be, said Captain Cat, if you stand very close. These ears of mine have perfect pitch. I've never known them fail. And as it's getting colder, I'll warm you with my tail.
That's very kind, sir,
said the mouse.
For being fat, you see, the other lads do laugh a lot, and they makes fun of me.
Most unfair, said Captain Cat, and as he licked his coat, said, I have every confidence you'll hit the highest note. Can we get on? Said Vicar Mole. We are singing Three Kings next. If these delays continue, I could get rather vexed. Said Captain Cat, forgive me for taking so much time. Three Kings is a carol that's a favourite of mine. It tells how baby Jesus in the manger lay on Christmas morning, which of course was the world's first Christmas day, when three kings from the east appeared, which means they'd travelled far. They knew exactly where to go, guided by a star. They came, they said, from Persia, where cats have splendid fur, and with them they brought gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. These, of course, were perfumes to put upon his brow. The golden crown meant he was king of everybody now. Said Vicar Mole, how well explained, and pointing with his nose, said, let us sing the Three Kings now, and this is how it goes. Three wise men step forward, please. Thank you, and Melchior, I think you're first.
Born a king on Bethlehem plain, gold I bring to crown him again. King forever, ceasing never over us all to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright.
Very good. Now, Caspar. Thank you.
Frankincense to offer have I, incense unto deity high. Prayer and praising, all men raising, worship Him God most high. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
And now one of my favourite names, Balthazar.
There is mine, its bitter perfume, breathes a life of gathering bloom, sorrowing, sighing, bleeding, dying, sealed in a stone.
good mice. Now, are you ready?
Glorious now, behold him arise, King and God and sacrifice. Let us sing hallelujah, hallelujah, the earth replies. Star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect
What joy, what bliss, said Vicar Mole. So hard to tell who's best. You all sang frightfully well indeed. I'm really most impressed. I agree, said Captain Cat. They sounded good to me. Oh dear, said Vicar Mole. There's only 33. I'll count again in case I'm wrong. Don't tell me you've been naughty. Oh no, it's only 33, and there were over 40, said Captain Cat. That's very strange. I didn't see them leave. Could one be in my pocket or hiding up my sleeve? No, there's nothing there but me. I'm sure they'll show up soon. Perhaps they're in the vestry, rehearsing a new tune. They searched the vestry and the church in every nook and cranny, while relatives called out their names like Tiny Tim, Aunt Annie, the Cheesy Boys and Nibbler Ned, old Grandma Mouse and James, and Nosy Norman, show yourselves, and please stop playing games. A bearded mouse with walking stick waved it around his head.
It's that cat. I'm sure of it. We're going to end up dead. I swear he's fatter than he was, for cats are all born mousers. If he lays one paw on me, I'll jump out of me trousers.
I promise you, said Captain Cat, with hand upon my heart, just like you, I never saw a single mouse depart. May lightning strike my tail at once if I've not told the truth. All the mice looked up, expecting lightning through the roof. To their surprise, no thunder rolled, no sudden flash of light. It could just be, said Vicar Mole, that Captain Cat is right. He didn't notice where they went, and strangely, nor did I. I'm glad of that, said Captain Cat. I could not tell a lie. A lady mouse in floral dress and bonnet made of straw said,
Where's my little fat boy gone? I can't see him no more.
He was just here, said Captain Cat. I had my tail around him. Ah, here he is, beneath this pew. Thank heaven that we found him. Tell me, boy, what is your name? The mouse said,
Little Fred, and it's not easy singing with your tail around my head. Your whiskers have got up my nose. My tonsils are all tickly. I'll have to have a good cough now,
said Vicar Mole. Well, quickly, we must get on. It's getting late, and I have made the choice. We are singing Good King Wenceslas, a good test for your voice. A lovely carol, said the cat, about the feast of Stephen, when like tonight the snow was thick and deep and crisp and even. But do you know who Stephen was? Now, each one rack your brain.
Didn't he invent,
said Fred,
the very first steam train?
Vicar Mole mopped at his brow with a hanky from his pocket. That was Stephen's son, he said. The train was called the Rocket. Now, if you'd paid attention and you'd read your Bibles, you'd know that Stephen was a friend of Jesus' disciples. He paid for friendship with his life, so all of us remember a feast day for this saint of God on the 26th of December. Saints, of course, are people who've been especially good. All I'll be remembered for is homemade Christmas pud. Then Vicar Mole sat down to play, and pointing with his nose, said, Let's sing Good King Wenceslas. and this is how it goes. Said Vicar Mole. So hard to tell who's best. You all sang frightfully well indeed. I'm really quite impressed. I agree, said Captain Cat. Those voices were pure heaven. Oh dear, said Vicar Mole. There's only 27. I'll count again in case I'm wrong. Don't tell me you've been naughty. Oh no. It's only 27, and there were over 40. Said Captain Cat, that's very odd that they should disappear. After all, it's cold outside and nice and warm in here. Perhaps we ought to stop a while and pause to have some tea. But why is it those little mice all stare so hard at me? They think, perhaps, said Vicar Mole, that as they're getting less, it could be that you've eaten them. Of course, it's just a guess. I'm most disturbed, said Captain Cat, by even the suggestion. The very thought has given me quite awful indigestion. And gazing round with great big eyes of smiling china blue, said, now I'm ready to go on, and so I hope are you. So, sitting at the organ and pointing with his nose, the mole said, Holly and the ivy next, and this is how it goes. Not so fast, said Captain Cat. I'd like to take this chance to tell you all about that song. The music comes from France. Bon news indeed, said Vicar Mole, and la grande surprise. Would you like to tell us more, or may I start now, please? Said Captain Cat, before we do, I have some information. The holly is not only there for Christmas decoration. When the holly bears the berry, it means a child is born, just as Jesus Christ was on that Christmas morn. And when you hear of prickles, and when you hear of blood, it means that on a cross he died, as he said he would. Said one church mouse, well, I am blessed. I never knew all that. Fancy so much knowledge coming from a cat. Said Vicar Mole, if we can start, I'm ready with the key. I'll pick the ones who sing the best, and then we'll have some tea. And pumping up the organ and pointing with his nose, called Holly and the Ivy Choir, and this is how it goes. Emotional, said Vicar Mole. So hard to tell who's best. You all sang frightfully well indeed. I'm really most impressed. I agree, said Captain Cat. They really sounded great. Oh dear, said Vicar Mole. I've only counted 8. I'll count again, in case I'm wrong. Don't tell me you've been naughty. Oh, no, it's only 8 again, and there were over 40. Just then, a shadow crossed the wall and gave a ghostly howl, and there alighted on a pew a very large barn owl. Good evening, all, the owl intoned. I heard your bell a-ringing, and so I changed my flight plan and came this way, a-winging. I flew in through the belfry tower, not knowing whom I'd meet. How nice to find so many mice. It's quite a Christmas treat. And then he went to snatch a mouse, but something made him pause, as Captain Cat said, "Don't do that," and pointed to his claws. Then he carefully sharpened them on the cold stone floor, then polished them beneath his chin and sharpened them some more. The owl flapped back onto his perch and blinked his yellow eyes and ruffled all his feathers up to look a bigger size, pretending that he'd never thought to have a little snack. But to reassure them all, he hopped a few pews back.
I think,
said little Fred, the mouse,
that we should give a cheer for Captain Cat, for without him we wouldn't all.
Owl, there's you and me. That's 10. And 10 can make a splendid sound. And what's more, I forgot. The fat one's in my pocket still. And that makes it quite a lot. And taking out the little mouse, he tickled 'neath his chin and said, "It must be hot in there. You've come out rather thin."
It was indeed,
said little Fred.
Now where's my mum and dad?
Said Vicar Mole. They've disappeared. You must be very sad,
I am, of course,
said little Fred.
but I've been left behind to carry on the family name, so I don't really mind. And back at home I've sisters and brothers by the score, and by the time I get back there, I expect there'll be some more.
The barn owl gazed at little Fred and said, "I must confess, I'd be obliged if, when you go, you leave me your address." "He won't do that," said Captain Cat. "Of that you can be sure, for I myself will see him home quite safely to his door." "How very kind," said Vicar Mole, and patted little Fred. "Perhaps you ought to do it now. It's time he was in bed." Vicar Mole went to the doors and threw them open wide. A mighty wind filled up the church and blew the owl outside. Through the whirling snow and trees he disappeared from view. The last thing that they heard from him was, yes, you've guessed it, "Ooh." "Oh, well done," said Captain Cat, and putting down his head into the snowy night he went. "I'll be back soon," he said. Vicar Mole slammed shut the doors and bolted them up tight and said, "Dear Lord, I thank you. I knew I'd be all right. I'm sure that if that cat had stayed, that we'd all end up dead. But horrors, I've just had a thought. What of poor little Fred? Forgive this weak and selfish mole, for to preserve my health, I've just abandoned a small mouse, and all to save myself." And then a window in the church squeaked and opened wide. And Captain Cat said, "Well, that's that," and bounded back inside. And from his jacket pocket out popped a little head, which said,
No one would let me in, 'cause they was all in bed.
Said Vicar Mole, "The Lord be praised, and no more mice I'm losing. Now let me see which carol's next. Ah, here's the one I'm choosing, a splendid song for Christmas, a verse for every day. We can all sing different parts, just like a roundelay." And sitting at the organ and pointing with his nose, said, "The 12 days of Christmas, and this is how it goes."
On the first day of Christmas, my true love sent to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the third day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the fourth day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 4 holly birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the fifth day of Christmas, my true love sent to me
4
a swimming, 6 geese a laying.
5 rounds of crumbling yellow cheese. Lovely.
4 curly birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 8th day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying.
Oh, yes, I do enjoy that crumbly cheese that just flakes away in your mouth.
4 curly birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 9th day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying.
Of course, one of my favorites is Danish blue. I like it because it's so smelly. Lovely with biscuits.
4 curly birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Quite wonderful, wonderful.
10th day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 10 birds a making, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying.
Lovely when it's toasted, you know. You have it with a little Worcester sauce and a piece of celery. It's really very...
4 curly birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 11th day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 11 pipers piping, 10 birds a making, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying.
Yes, I really must concentrate and stop thinking about all that lovely crumbly cheese.
4 curly birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Very good, very good.
On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 birds a making, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying.
I mean, you've got Cheshire and Cheddar and Red Leicester and Double Gloucester and Derby and Wensleydale and Lancashire and Caerphilly and Stilton.
4 curly birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Each day was good, said Vicar Mole. It's hard to tell who's best. What's left of us sing frightfully well. I'm really most impressed. I agree, said Captain Cat. But just a moment. Wait. I don't think we've lost a mouse, 'cause I just counted 8, said Mole. Well, I'll just count myself in case that you've been naughty. Oh, yes, I've counted 8 of them. But there were over 40. Still, I'm relieved, said Vicar Mole. At least we've stopped the rot. But where the rest went, heaven knows. I wonder where they've got. While we are winning, let's proceed and sing another song. I think I've picked the ones I want, but then I could be wrong. The trouble is the organ. The pedals stiff and strange, and some notes do not play at all, inhibiting my range. Perhaps you need, said Captain Cat, some nice hot candle grease. We'll drop it in the working parts and see if they release. And taking lots of candles, they set them all alight and held them so the hot wax dripped straight down an organ pipe. Vicar Mole peered down the pipe, and when he'd finished peeking, he pushed the pedals up and down and listened to them squeaking. How very odd, said Vicar Mole, and pushed the pedals quicker. Said Captain Cat, good gracious me, they're squeaking louder, Vicar. Never mind, said Vicar Mole, and let us now proceed. Oh dear, I'm sitting on a song, and it's the one I need. God rest you, merry gentlemen. A cheerful carol, that. And God rest means God keep you safe. I know that, said the cat. Vicar Mole pressed down the keys and pointed with his nose. God rest you, merry gentlemen. And this is how it goes.
God rest you, merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. For Jesus Christ our Saviour was born upon this day. To save us all from Satan's power, we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. From God our Heavenly Father, a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same. How that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. The shepherds at those tidings rejoicing much in mind, and left their flocks a feeding in tempest, storm, and wind, and went to Bethlehem straightway this blessed babe to find. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Lord went to Bethlehem, they came where at this infant lay. They found him in a manger where oxen feed on hay. His mother Mary kneeling unto the Lord did pray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Now to the Lord sing praises, all you within this place, and with true love and brotherhood each other now embrace. This holy tide of Christmas all others don't deface. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
That was extra good, said Mole. Not hard to tell who's best. All of you sang very well. I'm really most impressed. I agree, said Captain Cat, and gave his chin 2 licks. Oh dear, said Vicar Mole. I've counted only 6. I'll count again in case I'm wrong. Don't tell me you've been naughty. No, there's only 6 of them, and there were over 40. 2 of them, said Captain Cat, were just here by my side. Now, where could they have got to? There's nowhere they could hide.
I'm still here,
Said little Fred.
beneath the vicar's hat.
I'm most relieved, said Vicar Mole. Me too, said Captain Cat. But at least we have a choir to sing at Christmas time. I think that we should celebrate and have a glass of wine. So round the vestry fire they sat and warmed their hands and feet, and after a few sips of wine, they dozed off in the heat. Vicar Mole, who snored a lot, then dreamed that Captain Cat had swallowed him, and in the dark he couldn't find his hat, and round him were the missing mice, and much to his surprise, they were all accusing him of causing their demise. He lit a candle in his dream, but all that he could see were lots of mice all swimming round in biscuits, cheese, and tea. He woke up with an awful start, holding up the candle, to find the cat had taught the mice a ditty penned by Handel. As their voices hummed the tune, each one a perfect note, little Fred gave Mole a wave from the captain's coat. "That's very good," said Captain Cat. "Your voices are divine. Let me give you all a hug," said Vicar Mole. "No time. We've still a carol left unsung, and then we have to choose what order we will sing them in, and which ones we will use. So follow me back down the aisle. There's one I want to hear. The time for it's appropriate, for midnight is quite near." And seated at the organ, and pointing with his nose, said, "It came upon the midnight clear, and this is how it goes." It seems to be getting quiet at 1, 2, 3. Oh dear, oh dear.
Yet with the words of sin and strife, the world has something won. Beneath the angels' strain and roll, 2,000 years
its ancient splendors fling, and the whole world sends back the song which now the angels sing. "That wasn't frightfully good," said Mole. "It's hard to tell who's best when no one else's voice is heard. I'm really not impressed." "I agree," said Captain Cat. "Thought I'd gone quite deaf." "Oh dear, oh dear," cried Vicar Mole. "There are no mices left. I'll count again in case I'm wrong. Don't tell me you've been naughty. No, there's not a single one. And there were over 40. And taking off his spectacles, Vicar Mole looked shocked. "When Bishop Bunny hears of this, I know I'll be defrocked. Oh, where have they all gone? I'm sure that you're the culprit," said Captain Cat. "Look over there, a mouse upon your pulpit. And what is more, it's little Fred. Now, tell me where you've been."
With the rest,
said little Fred.
inside that old machine. When you said mice invented silent night by biting through ancient bellows in an organ, they climbed in and had a chew. Now it's got more holes than cheeses, 44 have had a bite, in the hope the notes created sound as good as Silent Night.
Said the mole, "Dear Lord, forgive me, for I have misjudged the cat. But I wonder if the organ will be working after that. Now come out and we will try it." And as all the rest appeared, Vicar Mole pressed on the pedals and exclaimed, "Just as I feared, all the notes are in a jumble, flats and sharps are strangely changed, and the sound of this old organ is completely rearranged." But the tune the organ played now was as sweet as any bird's. So the vicar got some paper, and the mice composed the words. Captain Cat, in his best writing, helped them get the spelling right. So they sat up, all composing, until it was nearly light. Then Vicar Mole sat at the organ. Of course, he pointed with his nose and played the tune that they had bitten. And this is how their carol goes.
Ring, ring, we are the carol singers. Ring, ring on this Christmas night. And we come to sing for you because we saw your light. All wrapped up in stars and gloves against the cold protected. We'll give you holly and the ivy, all that is expected. Knock, knock, we are the carol singers. Knock, knock, for the night be chill. We are here to bring you cheer and hope our pockets fill. We'll sing you good King Wenceslas upon the feast of Stephen. And if you will not have the luck, we'll sing it out the heathen. Bang, bang, we are the carol singers. Bang, bang on this festive eve. Wishing you all happiness. We'll sing before we leave. God bless you, merry gentlemen. Let nothing you dismay us. But if you will not answer us, we will not go away. Ring, ring, we are the carol singers. Ring, ring, voices quite divine. And the sound is much improved by biscuits, cheese and wine. But should you bid us all depart, then do it swiftly now, please. Before we sing 12 days of Christmas, each in different keys. Tap, tap, we are the carol singers. Tap, tap, sing of Christmas joy. Tell of peace and happiness for every girl and boy. Angels from the realms of glory singing on a midnight clear. Tap, tap, ring, ring, bang, bang, knock, knock. It's very cold outside. Angels from the realms of glory singing on a midnight clear. Tap, tap, ring, ring, bang, bang, knock, knock. It's very
So as you see, old Captain Cat did what he said he would. He didn't eat a single mouse, just their Christmas pud. If you believe there's good in folk despite their reputation, giving them a second chance could just be their salvation.
Bernard Cribbins and the St. Winifred School Choir have been telling us the story of Captain Cat and the Carol Singers, based on the book by Jeremy Lloyd. Original music and arrangements were by Goff Richards. Technical presentation was by David Fleming Williams, and the producers were Hugh Faupel and John Forrest.